Quasi here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can completely surrender and let go of all of these traumatic experiences you've been unconsciously holding on to, and as a result, really find the most powerful mechanism for achieving your goals, which really is surrendering to them. And by the end of this video, you're going to learn a 3-step process of surrender that I've been using for the past 2 years that has completely changed my life. I want you to stick around to the very end of this video, because what I've found is that once I understood this, goal achievement was taken to a completely new level for me. Before I begin this video, to quickly announce a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. Just wait around till the end of the video for the announcement on how to enroll for that. And with that, let's get started. So in this video, I want to talk to you about the concept of letting go. And there's so many misconceptions about it, and also there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. And I'm going to clear this up once and for all. And what I've found in this journey was when people talk about letting go, they think, oh yeah, just get rid of it, just resist it, just go away. But that's not how it works. The letting go process, when done correctly, is a very, very counterintuitive process to how it's verbalized. You think you're letting go, but instead, what is happening is letting be. When you let be, then letting go happens spontaneously, right? So let's really get started with this video, because I think this is going to be a very big game changer for you once you learn to apply it right. And you're going to see your life is taken up to newer and newer heights, more and more peaceful, and you're just seeing that goals and whatever you want is just getting achieved spontaneously, okay? And you're just moving towards your purpose. Now, most people fail to handle their feelings because, they just don't know how to. We just don't know how to handle our feelings. No one really taught us. And even though this is the most natural process when we grow up, we get accustomed to so many different things, which leads us to more and more unconsciousness. Whenever we feel something intense, we immediately look for a diversion. We're just looking for an excuse to be unconscious. We enter a room, we can't even sit alone for 30 seconds. We have to turn on a TV, read a book, or do the next thing. It's always about getting to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. The thought process. What am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to do then? What am I going to do then? What am I going to do this? And when you do get to that next thing that you wanted to do, you can't enjoy and bask in that moment. But from that next thing, you want to even go to the next thing, right? So it's this never-ending cycle of never being in this present moment and experiencing its wholeness, but rather a part of you is always in the next moment or the previous moment. Okay, so we just don't know how to handle these feelings, which is causing all of the strife that we experience. Why? Every single feeling that you have brings up numerous thoughts. Look at all of those thoughts that you have. They all source from a core feeling. When you think of, oh no, this could go wrong, that's a thought. But it's coming from a feeling of fear. It's coming from a feeling of anxiety because of some past event that's happened. So this is how emotions are formed. Emotions are formed when your feeling comes in contact with a thought. You have a thought which is inherently neutral. Thoughts are just thoughts, it's just data. But then you attach a charge to it, a feeling to it. So when that happens, it forms a memory so that the ego has a survival mechanism. It's like, oh, if I avoid that and if I move towards that, then I'll be good, then I'll survive. The ego is always trying to survive because it perceives itself to be limited. It perceives itself to be individual. Most of suffering, mankind's suffering, arises because you think you're an individual being. You think you have these boundaries, and your boundary is the body. This is how you identify with the body, right? You think, I am the body, therefore I'm limited to the body, and therefore everything else is an attack on my body. And so you suffer, okay? So emotion is formed from thought plus a feeling that comes in contact with a thought. You come across an event, and the event is, let's say you lose a lot of money. And now, let's say you checked your email, right? So listen to this crazy story. Let's say you checked your email and you saw that, you got scammed out of like $10,000 or something. And that brings up a fear in you of checking your email. So the thought was checking email. And the feeling was anxiety, fear, loss, they come together and form this emotion. Now, this emotion of loss and fear is tied in to that thought of checking the email. So whenever that thought of checking your email comes about, now you fear that. And with it, it accompanies that initial fear. So that fear finds a way to live on within you, and it makes you suffer. This is how this cycle of suffering keeps on happening. Whenever any thought or anything related to that comes up, it again revives that feeling as though it were happening right now. Okay? And this is why your worst fears are realized, because your heart and your mind comes together in these. And then somehow reality begins to attract it. Whenever your mind and your heart come together, powerful things happen. That's why when your heart and mind come together in joy, in your goals, then you achieve your goals, right? So this is how an emotion is formed and how it starts to affect you later on in life. This is how trauma is built up, because now it deeply roots itself into your unconscious. So let's really talk about the 4 ways we deal with our feelings and how we handle them. Number 1, the most common way, and this is what happens. I'm going to go from top to bottom, from the most conscious process to the most unconscious process. Okay? Please understand this, because if you do, it's going to be a game changer for you, because you're going to know what to do instead. The 4 ways we handle our emotions and our feelings right now is, number 1, through expression. Something happens, we express our dissatisfaction to it. We express to someone, we talk to someone, we get angry and act out. What happens in expression is you actually do let out that feeling, but you only let out a part of it, and the rest of it goes into your unconscious. Okay? So whenever something happens to anger you, by the way, nothing can ever anger you. These events happen as a trigger to release what's already there. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Any event that happens can never anger you. It just acts as a trigger. Being stuck in traffic can never anger you. It just lets out the angry person within. Okay? So all of these things get pent up. The more and more this process happens, the more and more emotions get built up within you, the more and more compression there is. It's like a pressure cooker. Once you have the trigger of car, traffic, boom, now it gets expressed, now it gets let out. That's how the process of expression happens. The next level below that is escape. When the feelings are too strong, you look for a diversion. You look to fall unconscious. You look at, TV, food. Just keep drowning yourself in food. Alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever it may be. You escape what's there and you direct your attention outwards, just so you don't have to deal with it, because it's so strong. This is the next process. This happens a little bit less consciously. Number 3, how we deal with our feelings is we suppress them. We just hold them down. We simply feel something, but because of culture, because of things around us, we can't express them, and so we suppress them. Escape and suppression happen hand in hand. When you escape something, it immediately gets suppressed. And again, this is how the pressure cooker gets built up. You feel fear, instead of dealing with the fear and surrendering it, you suppress it. You're like, you know what? It's not going to happen again. Okay. Whew. You tell yourself these stories, but you don't really believe them. That's when suppression happens. The next up, and the most powerful level, the one that haunts us, is repression. Repression. So suppression is a conscious process. You choose to suppress it. Repression is unconscious. This is when it goes into your unconscious mind and haunts you for the rest of your life. When trauma gets built up, when these emotions really come up and the pressure cooker is really getting to its boiling point. So suppression is conscious, repression is unconscious. So this is how it begins. A traumatic event happens. An event happens. Already from your past karmic experiences, whatever's happening, there's already some build-up there in your unconscious that hasn't been surrendered. So naturally you express it. Like, shit, traffic, Now the rest of it gets poured in under the surface. And now you escape that anger. You go back home, you watch some TV, you do something more unconscious instead of dealing with it. Now that whole feeling that got suppressed is now fully suppressed. Now you choose to escape it. Now you feel the anger coming up and you don't do anything about it. It's like, oh, it's just an uncomfortable feeling. You suppress it and you consciously choose to suppress it. Now this process from suppression to repression is automatic. If something goes suppressed long enough, it eventually becomes repressed. And then it shows up in the form of physical ailments. You know, you have physical pain, you have insomnia, all of that. By the way, all of these concepts I'm talking to you about is from this book called Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. I really, really urge you to read this book because I've probably read this 5 times. Every single time it becomes an eye-opener. This is probably the only book that I've read so many times. So the fourth process is repression. Now the question becomes, how do we get rid of these? You know, how do we get rid of these traumatic experiences and have them stop haunting us? It's very simple. And now I introduce to you the process of surrender and letting go. Okay, let's talk about that. These are the 4 ways we handle our emotions now. And it's because society has trained us to handle our emotions that way. We've just kept handling them, we've just kept them inside, or we've expressed them, but we've never been taught to deal with them and turn our attention back in on them. That's what the process of surrender is. Okay? So let's talk about the process of surrender. It's very, very simple. It's 3 steps. The greatest secrets in life are always simple. Number 1, let's say this feeling of fear comes up within you. Okay? Now, instead of escaping it or expressing it, and you keep talking to your wife about it, or you keep talking to your, mum or your dad about it, whatever it is, it makes you feel good in the moment, but the rest of it gets suppressed. Remember? Instead of doing that, feeling of fear arises. You acknowledge the feeling. Acknowledge. Okay. There is discomfort happening. You acknowledge it without a label. You acknowledge it without resistance. Feeling. And then you let it arise. You give yourself permission to fully feel this feeling. There's going to be resistance to this feeling too. And you're going to feel guilty, or you're going to feel fearful about feeling fear. It's just time to remind yourself, wait a second. Okay. I allow myself to feel this. So in doing that, when you let it be, you let that feeling just be there. Even when you do the surrender process, forget about trying to get rid of it. Forget about doing this surrender process to get rid of it. Just let it be and run into it. Run into this feeling. Okay? Let it be and ignore any thought. There's going to be a million thoughts around it. It's like, why is this happening? Where is this coming from? Whatever. Ignore those. So now we're at the stage of, okay, I give myself permission to fully feel this. And number 3, just ask yourself this simple question. Am I willing to let go of this? Am I willing to stop holding on to this feeling of fear? Am I willing to stop holding on to this grudge? Naturally, the answer is yes, but you just need to ask this question. Am I willing to let go? Because, I'll tell you what, it's so difficult to let go because we've crafted our identities around it. We've started to craft our identities around these feelings of fear that we've been experiencing for the past 5 years, for all the events that have happened, the grief, the loss. Our identities have been crafted around it. How do you just let go of this one big piece of yourself that constitutes what you call yourself? This is why you must ask this question. Am I willing to let go of this so I can experience something better? You just need to be consciously aware of something that's been unconscious, your shadow, this whole time. And once you do, the result is going to be a huge weight being taken off you. A huge weight just being let go. If you find that you keep thinking about the past, investigate that. Anytime you want to move forward, all of those fears from the past come up. What we naturally do is we try to escape those and we drown ourselves in work. I used to do this too. I drowned myself in work and not deal with what was coming out, what was coming up. This is what leads to burnout, physical ailments, stress. Stop working for a second. Just sit down. What's coming up? Feeling. I allow myself to feel this fully. Please give me more of it. More of it arises. Am I willing to let go of this? You don't even need to answer the question. Obviously, the answer is yes. But you just need to ask it. Because when you get that approval, that's when the letting go happens. And the result is going to be a huge decompression of something that's been haunting you for a very, very long time. Now, there are some little things, little tweaks to this. First of all, it's going to keep coming back up because this is years and years of conditioning that you're trying to let go of. So chances are it probably won't be gone in one fell swoop. Number two, when it is gone, it'll almost feel like that was a different lifetime. You'll only realize your growth once you look back at where you were. Because this sort of thing that's been haunting you, it just gets erased from your consciousness. If it gets erased from your consciousness, there's no even thinking about it. You won't even think about, oh, remember when I used to feel fear? Only when you look back at it and you try to jog up that memory. Right? That's number two. Number three, it's not a one-size-fits-all. When you go through a very, very traumatic event, let yourself escape it. Let yourself distract yourself. Let yourself talk to a therapist. Let yourself talk and express it. Because when it first happens, the feeling is very, very overwhelming because the trigger has been released. This is actually a good thing. Being triggered is a good thing. That means now you know what you need to work with. So whenever it happens, don't try to use a surrender mechanism immediately. Only use that at moments when you're a little bit calmer. When moments you're with yourself and the feeling is not as overwhelming. So those ways we handle feelings, they're there for a reason. Right? Expressing, escaping. Sure, go out there, watch a movie. Sure, go out there and talk to someone about it. But that cannot be the main way you deal with it. Okay? Because those will always be limited. The best way to deal with it, to handle it, is when you just be with it. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. I do hope you give this a try because you're going to see what happens to you in a very, very short period of time. Okay, let's do a quick recap of what we talked about. Today we talked about the process, the mechanism of letting go, based on that book I told you about by David R. Hawkins. Essentially, why we fail and we hit so many obstacles in our lives is because we fail to handle our feelings. And this is why we keep getting haunted by the past and things that are not even in our awareness. Things that are so deeply rooted unconsciously that we just need a little more clarity to bring it up. The 4 ways we handle our emotions are expressing it, which suppresses the rest of it, lets out the energy of a little bit of it. Number 2, escaping. Number 3, suppression, which is a conscious process. Repression, which is an unconscious process. And understand that feelings become emotions when there's a thought attached to them. The thought becomes a trigger. Whenever the thought comes up, that corresponding feeling comes up as well. That's what an emotion is. And the 3-step surrender mechanism is, first of all, whenever you feel that feeling, you know that the signature of that feeling, because it's so familiar. You acknowledge it. Just acknowledge that feeling. Yes, it's there. It is there. I feel it. Number 2, just simply let it be. Give yourself permission to feel it fully. There's going to be resistance to the resistance of the feeling. Allow yourself to even resist. Don't even resist the resistance. If there's initial resistance to it, let the resistance even be there. And ignore the thoughts. No labels, no judging. No asking, oh, why is this happening? Why again? When is this ever going to go away? Even that thought that comes up, you let it be there. No resisting that even. Even if the thoughts come up, let them be there. Just ignore them. Number 3, ask, am I willing to let go of this? Am I willing to let go of this heaviness so I can experience something lighter? So I can experience something better? Don't even ask that. Just, am I willing to let go of this? Am I willing to stop holding on to this? Naturally, the answer is yes, but you just need to ask the question so you get full approval from your unconscious. And the result will be a huge decompression. Lightness, ease, more peace. And it won't happen overnight. You're just going to need to keep doing it. Okay? With that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, as I mentioned before, the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program is open. So just click on the link in the description below to fill up a short survey to see if we would be a good fit to work together. Now, who we work with are typically entrepreneurs who want to take their businesses to the next level, but they see that they don't have a business problem. They have all of the tactics and strategies. They know what to do, but they just keep chasing the next thing to do. And now they're starting to realize the problem was never in the doing. It's in the being. It's who I am. It's who's showing up into the business. Unconsciously, there are blockages that you can't even see. If that sounds like you, click on the link in the description to sign up for that. Let's see if we can help. And also the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Peace!